So I'm going to choose, just as an example here for a single one, Natural Resource Regions Thompson, and I'm going to look at an area that I'm very familiar with, the Okanagan Shuswap. So I select that and the model immediately takes me to that place. Again, I can clip it out so I can see just the boundary of that area, and I'll just change this back to minimal to make it a little bit cleaner. So this is a watershed. I actually live in this watershed, and perhaps though I'm interested, I noticed that there's another watershed over here, which is the Adams River watershed right here. And if I was interested in having my study area include all of this Okanagan Shuswap as well as this watershed, then what I could do is just go to complex and say I'm going to combine two. My first one is going to be the Okanagan Shuswap natural region, and my second one I'm going to, let's see here, add watershed group Adams River. And there it is. You can see it's added it on here. And so that allows me then to really customize any study area that I'm interested in. So I'm going to come back to this graph in a minute and show you how to pull an indicator on that study area. So this is also another way that it is very powerful in ALCES, allows you to take advantage of GIS data that you already have or that is available in the public domain. So all of the data that I'm looking at here is actually freely available in British Columbia, provided by the British Columbia government. And so I've actually chosen, this is the Okanagan watershed, the Okanagan River watershed within Canada, which feeds in, it's a tributary of the Columbia River in the Pacific Northwest of the United States. So I've selected my boundary, and you can see I've chosen that black backdrop because I'm looking at different data. So you can see over here I've got a feature list. You can load any amount of data that you want in there that's available. There are no limits. And then you can just choose to overlay these features on top of your simulation. Sometimes that's useful. So as an example here, I've got acreages, agricultural residences, rural residential farms, major roads, major highways and railways, and urban water wells. So you've got a legend here. I can move that legend around any way that I want, especially if I was going to create a map of this and then export that. So you can see I can have different features in there, and then I can turn on, let's say I was also interested in the minor roads. So there's all the minor roads you can see in this watershed. That's a pretty heavy concentration of footprint. And then I can zoom in on these features and have a closer look. So let's just look around Princeton here. It's a place I used to live. It's a rural community. And you can see here the little blue dots are water wells actually, and you have this small town of Princeton. The green areas are acreages and agricultural residences. If I wanted to, let's just zoom in a little bit more and have a closer look. They're standing out really well, very easy to see on this black background, but then I could go and check, for example, on the imagery and say, oh yeah, that's so-and-so's place, and that's their two wells that are domestic intake, and this one for watering cattle on this range, as an example. So makes use of the existing investments that you've got in data, or allows you to pull from public data sources and use that in your analysis. Super handy. Here's another capacity of ALCES, is that you can take information. Here we were just interrogating different attributes. Here we can look at polygons of different values and use them as selected regions to confine our analysis or to apply land use. In this case, what I'm showing are the mineral titles in British Columbia, and they're color themed in different places. You can see there's a lot of the blue, which I believe is mineral title. And if I was just interested in the placer, it's sort of being hidden by the mineral in most of the case, so I could just look at the one that I want to see. or look at them individually. So just real easy way to get at the GIS data that you have. You don't need an expensive ArcGIS or other type of platform license. This it's all handy, and so for data users and analysts, it sort of removes some of those barriers of getting at the existing GIS data that you have and understanding. So for current state analysis, for example, very quickly I can access this data. Here's another neat feature that I've not seen in any other program, is the ability to create tours. So in LCC, well, you can actually create these places. So I can either manually add map places by clicking on it. I can add their lat and long, or you can import them from another GIS file. And you can just look at selected ones. You can create your own areas there. And then you have the opportunity to do a tour. So for example, if we were interested in British Columbia, we have a lot of hydroelectric dam facilities in this province. And so I've actually got 45 of them identified in the province, and I can set up a tour. So you can see here, this first one here is Beaver Lake Dam, and I've put on the imagery because it's easier to see. I could change it back to minimal and we'd have that, but it's nice with the imagery. And so I can just hit go, and it's going to bring up this little box down here that allows me to control a tour. So you can see Beaver Lake Dam for Beaver and Elk Lake. It's a drinking water reservoir here on Vancouver Island. This is the place marker for it. The dam is right here and the creek runs down. And then I can just hit play, and it's going to start to go through all of those places that I identified. So here's the Brilliant Dam on the Kootenay River, the Capilano River Reservoir. So I'm going through a number of different dam areas. And I can stop this at any time. Oh, I'm interested in this Comox Lake. Let's have a little bit of a closer look at that. So I can zoom in. Oh yeah, there's the function, or the dam. And I can even see the flow direction of the river. Okay, so now I'm going to continue on. And so the tour just continues. I can set it to loop. I can just fast forward to the beginning or to the end. Pretty powerful. So I was going to show you a little bit of a simulation here. So just very quickly, and we're going to look at this a little bit more, but just as a current state assessment, I'm going to take this complex study area that I selected, and I'm going to look at a particular indicator. So we'll look at this in more detail, but I'm just going to show you, for example, I'm going to choose a pre-processed indicator, and I'm going to be looking, I'm interested in, let's say, forestry main roads in this area, because I know that there's lots of them. So I'm going to look to, I believe it's in road, forestry main. I'm going to select that indicator. I'm going to select the resolution that I'm interested in. So I'm going to take the highest that's available at this study size. If we had a smaller study area, we could go right down to 100 meter resolution. And well, you can see too, I had control over the timeline. Right now we're just doing current state. This is a 2010 data set, so I'm just going to leave it there. I have choice of looking at a heat map, grid cells, or regional summaries. Lots of options around how this map will look. So I'm just going to run it, and now it's pulling for an area that's 28,000 square kilometers. It's pulling all the roads in the region, and it's going to show me them. Now if I go up here, I can get rid of this choose existing, select study area. There we are. Turn off that pink. Get rid of that. And so you can see now here's all the mainline forestry roads within these this study area that I selected. Again, I can zoom in or zoom out. I have control over this. You see the legend here. It's basically just given me an even distribution by color theme. But I also have a lot of options around how to do that. I can choose different color palettes, and so for example, I could just say I would rather have where it's 0, I'm going to have this dark green instead of clear. So I'm going to select that, and you can see now it's showing me that. This is color spectrum. I could also just say binary selection and just show me where roads are and where they aren't. So that's doing that. And so we have some options about how to look at that data. Of course, we can zoom in on it. I can see those mainline roads. Let's go back. I liked it when it was clear. So I'm going to choose this one. Oh, you can also choose these two. Some folks are colorblind and aren't able to see this color spectrum, so we could just choose a grayscale if that's what we were interested in. So I could put that on there, and then I could take a look at the satellite imagery, zoom in a little bit more. I'm going to move over just a bit so we can see the roads, and then I can take the simulation and I can make it transparent or not. And so we can see there's the main line roads underneath that the model is picking up and coding for us in a heat map. Remember, this was 200 meter resolution that I was working with. And I could also change that then to a grid cell if that's something I was more interested in, just to look at how the model is representing that. Pretty cool, hey? All right, so that's how to navigate the model and look at some current state assessment indicators. Next thing we're going to do is turn on the time machine and start moving through time.